Hello and welcome to another episode slash the 30th episode of the discussion. So after 29 episodes of me talking about things and opinions and facts about stuff and mainly daily life, we might as well jump into OCs. So, what is an OC? What are my OCs? And how do you create an OC? So without any further hesitation, let us begin. So I sound sick right now, so that's probably why I sound different. So, and I might sniffle, hopefully not. But moving on though, let us begin. So, what is an OC? For those non artistic people, an OC is a character that someone creates. That OC is basically, kind of like an artistic version of either themselves or just like a fictional character they just drew on paper, whether it be human or an animal or an object or something. Either way, that's an OC. Now, there are also another type of OC, but isn't really classified as an OC by the art community. It's called a Mary Sue. A Mary Sue is basically typically a female character who is depicted as really unrealistically lacking in flaws or weaknesses, meaning that they basically are strong and almost can be defeated or killed. And even then, that applies to some other OCs, not just females, from what I know. However, I don't have any Mary Sue OCs, so that's out of the question for any of my OCs being a Mary Sue. So I have like 8 different OCs, but technically, what classifies as an OC is that number one, it hasn't existed before, meaning that you could still create a wolf character, obviously, but it won't have the much originality as like having a common animal like a dog or a cat as like your persona or something. It has to be a non-copyright existing character slash like non-fictional or fictional character. So basically, if you have a Pokemon Sona, that obviously does not count as an OC, and if you think it does, you need to check yourself because that doesn't, and that's not creative either. It also has to have its own personality. It has to stand out, of course. I mean, obviously, an OC has to be original, have its own story, and be different and stand out from other people's OCs or characters. Now, technically, that when that's applied to all my OCs, which mainly I'm only going to talk about my 8 main ones, then that eliminates Bonnie out of the question, since I considered him an OC for a while now. So we're only going to be talking about the main 7. N, Alex, Connor, Max, Nightshade, Skylar, and Blue. Now those are a lot of names, but they are listed in the order that I created them in. So let's begin with N. Basically, N is kind of like the self-insert of myself. The only difference is that number 1, I don't wear all blue all the time. Number 2 is that I don't have a scarf. I obviously don't have the power of flames. I don't have a green N on my hat. I mean, I do have a blue hat, but I don't have a green N on it. And my attitude is a little less more improved. So my artistic self is more or less a better version of myself, if anything. And my true self is basically just contradicting exactly my character. The reason I call him N is just because it's an initial for my name, obviously. So he was actually the first ever human character that I came up with, and isn't obviously the last one, as I'm not really good at drawing humans and giving them distinguishable features besides animals. And no, that doesn't make me a furry either, because I'm not a furry. Number 2, Alex. Alex is the second character that I made, and is really the last human I made as of this video, because pretty much every other OC I've had is either a wolf or a fox or a dragon or a shark or a Yoshi slash dinosaur. But I made it its own personality. So Alex is basically the first ever character that came up in one of the music videos that I made, which was Never Forget You a while ago. And I should probably redo that video. Don't watch it, it's cringy, okay? That was supposed to be a self-insert of my Minecraft character, from what I remember. And even then, I just didn't want it to, put myself in exactly. So that's why it's true, Alex. The next character on the list will be Connor. He's originally supposed to be the werewolf version of N, because at the time when I created that character, I was infatuated with werewolves. And no, that doesn't make me a furry. For the second time. But instead, I changed him to be the werewolf. So, in short, he was basically the third OC. So, the reason I made him split from N is because it's a little bit of a long story. But in short, N eventually got his werewolf side from a full moon. And then, he and his wolf side, I guess, communicated, I guess, kind of worked together, kind of bonded. Yeah, that's the word. And then eventually, one full moon, they split. So a little bit of DNA was still in Connor, and a little bit of DNA was still in N from Connor. So basically, N had still had some senses of a wolf, but was back to his human self again. Connor basically was allowed to speak and stand like a human, which is why some of the DNA also formed him that way. So that's probably why I guess the most crappiest explanation ever to explain why Connor stands and speaks normally, but he went through a lot of stages. He's actually one of the OCs that I spent more time on, like trying to develop before I even made up with Max. So he originally was going to be like a light grayish slash whitish color, and then I made him like a dark color, but like with a blue bow tie, and then I got rid of that because it was for like an alt account, and then I made it him like blue, and then finally right now I made him back to like a dark black furish color. So he went through like probably three changes throughout the years. So, but Connor ends up where he is now. He's still one of the characters I focus on and try to give some development, but not really because I think his backstory is already clear enough. Oh, damn it, I already did it. Alright, whatever. Max. Max is the fourth OC, and it's actually one of the first ever superhero characters I ever made. Now, I know I said this in the Marvel video that I said I'm not really a fan of superheroes, and that's true, but I do at least want to incorporate some type of like hero aspect instead of just like the main characters. So I came up with Max. Max is basically the stretchy, the elastic, and most gay boy ever in the group, if anything. He loves N, and he's also one of the most loved characters, surprisingly enough, that I have. He's more like, whenever I do pictures of Max, like, he's more favorited than I do of any other picture, like Nightshade or Alex or Blue. So it's surprising enough that people, like, love Max. And even then, his like, design his own, his design is his very own. And I'm working on comics right now where almost every day I tell like his backstory from when he was a child to like where he was now, and like the development between him and N. Even though N doesn't love him, Max does love him and will always protect him. He's always doing stuff for N, but he doesn't really appreciate it because he doesn't feel like Max should like do all that stuff for him. So there's like a love, not hate, but like love and like, I guess, relationship. So yeah. Now we have Nightshade. He's the fifth character that I made, and he's a dragon. He basically was originally going to be like a villain or something like a pet, but then I decided against it at the last minute. So Nightshade is a dragon, of course, and unfortunately he can't breathe fire. So I gave him like this power where he breathes like a mist, like smoke. So like he breathes smoke, but except it's like it kind of burns your skin a bit. So that's exactly how he breathes fire. And when he met N taught him how to like breathe fire because Nightshade is basically kind of like not an orphan, but like he was just dropped from like parents to try to learn on his own how to be like a dragon. So and Nightshade become like N's friend or just like a pet, but N doesn't really like that. He also loves Bonnie, surprisingly enough. He's protective, he's nice, and overall he's really one of the more I guess cuddly characters, I guess, besides Max. So, but Nightshade is a pretty nice design, though. I like the purple and grayish I added to him. Now we have Skylar. Skylar is actually the sixth character and the first ever female OC I've ever had. So originally I made her for only like Shark Week last year, but then I also decided against that again because I contradict myself a lot, and I decided to make her a full blown character, part of the group. She's obviously a shark. She's not a dolphin. I mean, sure, it's easy to confuse with like the fin I gave her, and like the fact that wait, do sharks have noses? I mean, they probably do, but like I don't know exactly if they look like that or not. So I just gave Skylar no nose. So yeah, I guess she doesn't breathe either. But basically, she's a prankster. She's the competitive one. She's very cunning, and she's also kind of like the queen of this like underwater civilization. I had to explore that more when I have more time, but she's also one of the more like I guess tougher characters in the group, like Nightshade. Except the only difference is that she takes things more seriously, and she also hates Max because Max originally almost hurt her during Shark Week because she scared N, and Max, of course, was protective. And well, needless to say, that whole ordeal went down very bad. Now we have the last character besides Bonnie, because I mentioned earlier that he's a copyrighted character, so obviously he isn't an actual OC, but it's different from his original design. So the last character is Blue. Blue is a Yoshi, and he's the seventh slash last main OC I made. So I have originally 8 main OCs, not including Bonnie, that's 7. And then like I'm starting to make more unofficial OCs, but they're still there. So basically, he was originally supposed to be the Yoshi Sona of my main character N, but again, I decided against that, so I just made him his own character. And then originally, I gave him like the hat that I gave N, and then I decided against that as well. So I just gave him like the scarf that he originally had. So he's the adorable one, he's the cute one, he's the shy one. He's also the last OC that I haven't actually given any backstory to yet, because the unofficial one that I have right now, which is Snow, I given her backstory, but I haven't exactly like finished it yet. And Blue is the only one that I don't really know how to exactly introduce, because you have to have backstory for your characters. But all of these OCs have at least one quality that I share or that I kind of lack in, or at the very least just show. So N is basically just me, but mostly serious. Alex is the nerdy side. Connor is basically the fastest runner, the athletic one, even though I don't choose to be athletic, but I'm pretty good at sports and PE. Max is the courageous one. That usually represents me sometimes when I think I'm confident, but most of the time I'm not. Nightshade is the protective side of me when I protect, or at the very least, don't want anyone else harming things or people that I love. Skylar is the trickster part of me where I kind of always want revenge, or I just want to give sass like I usually am because I'm an edgy teenager. Not really. And then Blue is kind of like the, I guess, cute side of me. I wouldn't really describe myself as cute other than shy, because I'm only shy around like adults, I guess, because I don't like adults. I don't know, but that's just me. So now we get into the part where how exactly do you create a diverse OC? How do you make an OC that stands out? Number one, give it clothing. Obviously, we don't want to see it naked. Number two, develop like a species, or at the very least, create your own species. Like, I mean, something like, I guess, a lion and a zebra or something like that. I don't know, make a combination between them, or like a bird and like a fish, I guess, like a fish with wings. I don't know, like make your own species, or hell, just use like a wolf or a fox or something, but like make them have a good design. Number two, make sure they have like an actual backstory, and make sure that they like don't always have a mental illness, because that's the one thing with OCs. You can change their sexuality, or they're like, if they have any mental illness, or like they represent something like ADHD or depression or anxiety, things like that. But sometimes people overuse them. They use false information, and or they don't exactly know exactly what it means for a character to have anxiety, or to be like introverted. So sometimes like they get it wrong. So you really have to research your stuff when you create an OC. I mean, of course, it's just an OC, something you draw on paper or your tablet, but it's better to be informed rather than just spread false information and like get called out by people when you clearly are in the wrong and they're in the right, but you're in denial. So there's also one last thing, is that you have to add a backstory to them. Give them personality. Don't let them be bland. Don't let them be like the butt of every joke. I mean, you can, but there has to be like some kind of context exactly to why exactly they're always the butt of the joke, and like backstory, like what happens. Like give them weaknesses. Don't let them be like an inevitable character that's gonna die, like a Mary Sue. Like give them qualities, give them quirks, make them different from any other character that you'd see on like TV or internet or even animations. So yeah, that's how you create an OC, and that's exactly all my OCs. If you are an artist and you have OCs too, let me know in the comment section below. And if you don't, then that's perfectly fine. But thank you for watching the 30th episode of the discussion. If you liked, then obviously like, and if you subscribed, then share this with your friends, unless you don't have any, that's totally fine. And as always, and as every time I say, peace.